Dear students, welcome to Swayam SHIKSHAA. Welcome to our mains Maniac series. Today, we are going to take up a question from 2019, which is related to GS1. Of course, it's a history question, but we can call it as a current history question. So the question is something like 150 words. The question is, throw light on the significance of the thoughts of Mahatma Gandhi in the present times. So it's a question from GS1. Now, for such questions, one thing which we should keep in mind is, can we write some schemes of government which can be directly linked to Mahatma Gandhi? That is something like, for example, can we link Swachh Bharat? Can we think of Sarvodaya scheme? Can we think of Sarvodaya? Or can we think of concepts like Vasudeva Kutumbakam and link it to international relations? Okay, so talking about cleanliness, talking about decentralization, 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment, talking about excessive capitalism, talking about SDG goals, inclusive growth, etc. That means what is very important here is how do we link up the thoughts of Mahatma with the present scenario or the present schemes or present situation. That becomes very important for such questions. Okay, so here we can start the question straight away writing about Mahatma also. For example, we can start writing about Mahatma Gandhi. Or since it is 150 word, I can straight away start writing about the thoughts of Mahatma Gandhi, where Gandhiji focuses on main principles like non-violence or something like truth, satyagraha, or talking about education for everyone in his Nai Talim. Or Gandhiji's talisman when he talks about thinking about the poorest man on earth, etc. So we can start about directly, rather than writing about Gandhiji, we can straight away start writing about the principles of Gandhiji's. And then we can continue saying the basic human issues as far as humanity is concerned, there is no much of a significant change. The problems which the humanity is facing across the globe today is same. The issue can be from social, political, economic or religious aspects. Okay, so these things remain the same. And then we can talk about the social issues separately, and then economic we can mention examples, and then political we can mention few. So when we talk about the social issues, so there are visible adversaries in the present world. So especially when we talk about intolerance in the society, which is leading to the division in the society. So this intolerance is creating problem which is leading to the division in the society. So Gandhiji's basic principles of tolerance. Okay, why? Because the main reason for intolerance is insecurity. So this insecurity is coming from fear. So this fear and insecurity basically is responsible for this intolerance, which is bringing in division in the society. So when we talk about Gandhiji's ideas of tolerance or compromise, compassion, non-violence, etc., these are all something like an antidote to the current crisis which is going on, like maybe racial or religious conflicts, or like terrorism, okay, or the present scenario of war, etc., which can be clearly mentioned here. Okay, so when we talk about Ukraine war can be mentioned, or we can talk about all these aspects directly linking it to the ideas of tolerance, compromise, non-violence, etc. Okay, can act as an antidote to social crisis like terrorism. It can prevent wars, religious conflicts, etc. So that can be written here. And then again we can talk about Gandhiji education, or Gandhiji's viewpoint on education is a lifelong process. So which Gandhi was talking in Nai Talim. So basically here we can mention the 86th Constitutional Amendment. Okay, so making right to education a fundamental right as an extension, etc. That can be mentioned here. Okay, and we can talk about Gandhiji's view on sanitation and Swachh Bharat, etc. So these things can be mentioned here as part of social issues. Okay, and then coming to the political level. So we have to write varied points with side headings. That is a better way of presenting here. So political issues when we talk about, so here what we can understand is when we have these conflicts like Israel, Palestine, Korean War, or rise of ISIS, or ethnic cleansing of minorities, etc. Okay, so Gandhiji was also talking about idea of politics without principles is a sin, and the concept of Sarvodaya in this particular aspect can be mentioned, and collaboration and cooperation among nations. So Gandhiji was always mentioning about interdependence. The concept of Sarvodaya and Vasudeva Kutumbakam at the international level. This is what Gandhiji was talking about. So international problems can be handled through interdependence, or collaboration and cooperation among nations is the key. And at the domestic level, obviously, the idea of Grama Swaraj, or we can also mention the 73rd and 74th constitutional amendment. So all these can be mentioned in this particular political issue. And then we can talk about the economic issues. Economic issues here, one important aspect which we can mention is self-reliant India. So which currently Modi ji is also talking about. Okay, and we can also talk about inclusive growth. So there is a huge gap and disparity. COVID has increased inequalities. So universal upliftment, or when we talk about universal upliftment or Sarvodaya, when we talk about, we can directly link the concept of inclusive growth. So, and also we can also talk about Gandhiji's idea of uplifting and empowering masses, how it is so very crucial to bring in something like inclusiveness in the society. So when we talk about vulnerable sections in the society like women, backward classes, children, disabled, etc., and COVID statistics clearly show that inequalities have increased. Then we can also mention SDG goals. And SDG goals here, we can talk about eradicating poverty, hunger-free world, etc. And also link up self-reliant India straight away. And the campaigns like Make in India, which can also help in creating employment opportunities, etc. So all this can be discussed. So though it looks like a history question, it becomes very important that we link this question to current affairs. It's very, very important. And now, and how do I write conclusions for such questions now? We can write something like Gandhi was a leader of the past who is running into the present and who is going to be relevant even today as well as tomorrow. Even today as well as tomorrow. Okay. More than before, because there is huge amount of conflicts across the globe. There's a need for Gandhiji's principles today more than years before, because of the situations of pandemic, situation of conflicts across the globe. So this is how we can write a decent conclusion or a very good conclusion for this question. I hope you like the video. Please put your comments if you want guidance for essay or any mains related aspect. And your comments and your comments are a booster for us to put in hard work. Signing off. Thank you.